Every story on this channel really happened to someone. A camper who never came back the same. A stranger who knew a name they shouldn't have known. A house that was never as empty as it looked. This is Hontora, where the woods remember what walked through them, and the people who lived to tell it still can't explain what they saw. If you've ever felt watched in a place you thought was safe, you're in the right place. Lock the door, turn down the lights. Let's begin. My grandmother's brother died with no children and 140 acres in the West Virginia hills that nobody in the family had set foot on in 30 years. It fell to me to get the land ready to sell. Walk the boundary, clear the title, make sure nothing was going to blow up the sale at closing. I hired a local contractor named Dell to help me assess the buildings and clear brush from the property lines. He was recommended by 3 separate people in town, all of whom said the same thing in the same tone. Good worker, fair price, keeps to himself. Dell was fine with everything until we got to the tree line on the northeast corner, a ragged wall of hemlock that the old plat map called out as the back 40 without further comment. He stopped his truck 100 feet short of it and said he wasn't going past that line. I asked why. He said something about the people back there, and then changed the subject so fast and so completely that I understood I wasn't going to get anything else out of him that day, or maybe ever. I went back alone 2 days later. Dell didn't know. The back acreage was rougher than I expected. A homestead site, or what was left of one. A collapsed cabin, a stone chimney standing alone like a tombstone. A hand-dug well gone soft and dangerous at the edges. Whoever lived there had been gone a long time. Saplings were growing up through what used to be a floor. I took photos for the survey and started walking the line back toward my truck, feeling for the first time all day like I'd wasted an afternoon on an old ruin and a superstitious contractor. I noticed the movement on my left first, then a beat later on my right. They kept pace with me through the trees on both sides. I counted 4 eventually, though I never got a clean look at any single one of them, just impressions of shape and stillness between the trunks. Not following. That word implies distance, a gap I might close or widen. This was something else. They matched my stride exactly, staying parallel, never drifting closer and never falling back, the way an honor guard walks a coffin, rather than the way anything hunts. I didn't run. I don't fully know why I didn't run, except that some animal part of my brain understood that running was not the shape this was supposed to take, and that breaking the shape might be the only thing that could go wrong. They walked me the entire quarter-mile to the property line where my truck was parked, and stopped there. All 4 of them at once, like a chain going taut. I got in the truck without looking back and drove until I hit a paved road, and I didn't stop shaking until I was most of the way home. Dell quit the next morning. No explanation, no returned calls, just a text that said he was sorry and that he hoped I understood. I listed the land 2 weeks later, well under what the county assessor said it was worth. It sold within 4 days, in cash, to a buyer I never met, an LLC with a P.O. box for a return address, in the same county the land sat in. No inspection requested. No questions about the back acreage, the well, the tree line, or the escort I never mentioned to anyone but Dell, who already knew, and who never once asked me to describe it. I like to think the new owners know what they bought. I like to think somebody, somewhere, has to. I spent that spring counting deer. It was contract work. A population survey for a stretch of Appalachian highland so far off the grid that my truck lost signal 40 minutes before I even reached the trailhead. 3 weeks, solo, camera traps, and a notebook and a rifle I never expected to use for anything but scaring off a curious bear. I'd done surveys like it a dozen times. I knew how to be alone in the woods. The first morning I found the bones, I laughed. Someone, hunters probably, or bored teenagers, had arranged a little cluster of small bones and teeth at the edge of my camp, maybe 6 feet from my tent flap. Squirrel bones, I guessed. Deer teeth. They were laid out with a strange, deliberate symmetry, radiating out from a center point like the numbers on a clock. I photographed it for the trail log, kicked it apart, and went to check my cameras. The second morning, there was another one. Same spot. Same radial pattern. Rebuilt exactly. Like nobody had touched my footprints from the day before to build it. I stopped laughing on the fourth morning when I found a tooth I recognized. It was mine. A molar I'd had pulled 2 years earlier, 400 miles from that hollow, in a dentist's office that had incinerated it along with the rest of the biohazard waste. I know what a pulled molar looks like. I know what mine looked like. It was sitting in the center of the arrangement like the others hadn't mattered at all. Like the whole week had just been a rehearsal for that one placement. That night I set up a trail cam facing my own tent instead of the game trails. I told myself it was for the arrangement, in case whoever was doing it came back. I didn't really believe anyone would. At 2:07 a.m., the camera caught 4 shapes entering the frame. They moved on all fours, but wrong. Too fast for the joint angles. Spine articulating in ways that made the gait look less like an animal's and more like a marionette's, something being operated rather than walked. They crossed 40 feet of open ground in under 2 seconds. The footage showed them stopping at my tent, one after another, and lowering their faces to the mesh window by my head, pressing against it, holding still there for whole minutes at a time, in a way the timestamp made worse than the shape ever could. Because I remembered those minutes, I remembered sleeping through them, dreaming nothing, breathing evenly, 6 inches from whatever that was. I didn't finish the survey. I drove out that afternoon and went straight to the county road authority to report a trespasser. I still don't know why I called it that, a trespasser. Like, I needed a word that made it small enough to say out loud. The woman behind the counter didn't ask me to describe them. She watched 12 seconds of the footage, reached over and turned my laptop screen back toward me before it finished. "You were in the wrong hollow," she said. "Don't go back." I asked what that meant. Wrong how? Whose hollow? She was already stamping a form that had nothing to do with my question, and she didn't look up again, and I understood. The way you understand things, you'll spend the rest of your life trying to ununderstand. That she wasn't going to tell me because telling me would mean she'd have to say it existed. And some things are easier to survive if you never let them become real by naming them out loud. I never went back for my equipment. The state can keep the cameras. I don't want to know what else they recorded after I left.